Alright, so this is the first of two videos, just updating on my travel journals. A little bit has changed. I finished some journals, or I've almost finished some journals. I got some new ones going on, so I'm just going to let you know what's up. So the first video here is going to be about my bullet journals, and the other one's off screen still. I'll get to that in a minute. As you recall, these bullet journals, this first one was for the individual country and the places within it that I would want to visit. And I have checked off more things on this list, but really I haven't touched these much otherwise, except, is it in this one? I think so. Yeah, you can see I have a mugs tab at the very back here. And I went ahead and I have a picture of all my mugs on my blog for my collection. But I decided to try my hand at sketching some of them. They didn't turn out that bad in retrospect. I've got a number of them to still do. You can see I've got it filled up to the back there on the first one that I haven't done. But I just thought it'd be kind of fun to keep log of. So that's the only sort of new thing in this. And in this one it's just, I don't think I've done anything except add a few more places to it, but I've not colored in anything, I've not checked off a lot of stuff. This one has not been used very much. What has been used is, if you remember, I had a notebook that was covered, like the cover was airplanes. Well, that cover fell off, so I replaced the front page. I covered over some, old scribbles for planning. This is my travel planning journal. And I covered over with a paper of quotes that I did up. And I've got a lot of pages in here that got covered. It's usually the scrap papers, the ones I was using for scratch paper, that I covered up. You can see here, I covered over with a similar map to what I have in one of my notebooks that I just put away, where I color how much of like Asia that I've visited as a rough percentage. This is on my blog. If you want a more clear picture of it, this is my travel quote page. And I haven't updated any of these places really, so I need to go back and do that one day. I kept those in pencil. But then this one had old travel plans and trips, and this was, I was using it for my polished, sort of finalized one. Because if you recall, I wanted a bunch of scrap paper. Or I was using a bunch of scrap paper, excuse me, and I wanted a notebook to do all that in so I wouldn't have them all over the place. But then I liked how the finalized versions looked. Well, I've kind of updated and changed how I do this one. You can see I've got just a list of airports in these countries that are other than the main ones or including the main ones. So here's like the capital is Budapest, but there's also an airport in Debrecen, for example, if I wanted to travel through there. This was if I planned on seeing the Lilleføred railroads, then this is what I would do. It's just a general sort of information page, and I got a lot of information pages, you'll see through here. This one I just posted on my blog not too long ago. It's an information page. And then I've just got artwork to cover up old pages. I figure why leave them all messy, and sometimes if I see my scrap paper a lot and all my bad handwriting and my crosses out and the prices that I marked out and redid, it makes me not want to travel. It makes me not want to plan. So I put some pretty stuff in here. And this was a goal of mine to try and do all 10 parks in Hungary, but I only ended up doing this one and this one. So, alas. But you can see I did go to this national park here, and I did an adventure page. You can find this on my blog. An adventure page, an information page. What am I talking about? An information page and some travel plans for a trip here. More specific details about like how I would travel. I started an information page for more of the national parks, but the rest of them have nothing. I never did get around to looking. I never did get around to going. And then we start back up with places I've been, somewhat information pages that I never did finish or post. Got weekend trips I could do. I've got places in Europe that I would love to visit. Color coded by want to go again, already been, haven't, that kind of thing. Oh, shouldn't have turned that around. Nearby countries to Europe. Timeline. So this became sort of a catch-all of, not only was I planning and making notes about actual things and like drawing maps and stuff, but I was also using it for information pages. I was using it for quote pages, just anything like that. You can see Romania didn't get finished. My rough one for Jordan. I'm not very good at art. It's my basic gingerbread man. trying to plan different trips. And I tried to redo the maps or calendars and redo the calendars, and they didn't work out. And you can see we're getting into more of my scratch paper, which was the purpose of this notebook, to be a scratch notebook. It eventually did become one. And so this is, if you guys are really chaotic when you plan your trips too, don't worry. I am with you 100%. It all works out in the end. Some ideas for trips I could do before I moved. I ended up, of course, moving back in March because of COVID, but I was going to move in May anyway. This you can find on my blog for my 12-ish days I did in Romania. More scratch paper. And again, trying to plan a trip. This was the last trip I got to do. So there was that. And then trying to plan for Easter in Bulgaria, but obviously that didn't happen. And you can see I've even put in little sticky notes of stuff. So again, it's kind of a mixture of I want the finalized version, but also scratch papers. So I put a bunch of different options and things in here so that if I finalized it, or if I chose all these places I wanted, I could add it in at the last. I was still doing financial options. I even have these, thanks to my coworkers for letting me have their papers. Just different options for what days I would do stuff in Bulgaria. That never happened. I was all excited for it. And then I forgot about this for a long time, and then I started planning like road trips in the US, prices for the road trips. I think this is, yeah. But I don't have anything else. I've just got a few more pages. Not many. You can see the table through it. And because I forgot I had this, or it was in another location, I couldn't access it immediately. I've had this notebook for a long time. It's shiny. I got it in Hungary. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. I think it's this one, so there's 3 more, but this is my favorite anyway. And it became sort of my new version of this. And let's just go through. And it became a bit stylized. I was looking at ideas on Pinterest, so again, none of these ideas are really mine. But travel music list. And I have this music playlist up on my YouTube, which you can look at if you want. You can listen to it yourself if you like it. Go for it. This sort of idea of this map, the routes and the pit stops, and sort of theming each town with a little name came from someone else on the internet. This is a southeast trip that I would like to do, though. You see the tape through here. I don't know why the tape, why this paper did that with the double-sided tape. Because it's just coffee stain paper. I don't know what happened. This was a book I read. I recommend it. Rudy's Rules for Travel. And I wrote down his rules for travel. I never did fill out this, but I have $50 per one to sort of inspire me. I don't know what I'm going to do, because I'm like, if I save up, for example, $1,000 and then I spend it on a trip, am I just going to exit out? Or am I going to erase it and reuse this? But that'd be a lot of erasing, so I don't know. And then I thought, well, I've got some stuff about, places I want to go in Europe and places I want to go around the world. Let's do one for just the US. So anything colored in over here is a state I've already visited in some capacity. Anything with a dot is a place I particularly want to go. And I just repeated the same 3 colors over and over. So I've got states here. I've got territories. So for example, American Samoa. I've got specific cities that I really want to go to. And then down here are the national parks, or something generic like a volcano. Also specific houses like the Winchester House I want to see. And then I've done this, any picture you see in here is from National Geographic, as I recall, just to inspire. For example, my Southwest road trip that you saw in the other book, this was the first page I started. Don't think it's from Alaska, but it made me think of Alaska, so why not? Oops, and this one I need to retape, but it just came out of like a photo, like a picture frame. But that's pretty Hawaiian, right? At least I think so. And then I got to a section where I was tired of doing those. I had a bunch of these pictures I wanted to just inspire me on trips anyway. Just, this one's for India and places like that, so I can see Holi. Each one has underneath it what I want to do or what it means. See elephants in the wild, play with a baby elephant. Things like that. See sea turtles off. Of course, they open weird that way. Machu Picchu, volcanoes. Then I got back to this, just to sort of mark the pages for what I want them to be while I was in the mood to do it. Because I'm not always in the mood to sit there and trace the font, or, and that's the thing too, is I trace these. Don't think I didn't trace the ones very often in one of my other notebooks, the countries. Sometimes I did, but these I more often traced. So it takes a lot of time for me and patience. I need to do the Northwest one here and the Midwest. And I left a blank page or two just in case I, forgot something or messed up. And because the, pen and marker bleeds through. And then here's one for Russia. I was trying to go to Russia. If you read a blog post about my summer trip through the Faroe Islands and England and Scotland and that through Northern Europe, you'll remember that I had wanted to do Russia instead, actually, but that didn't end up panning out. And so I quickly sort of cobbled together the other one. But anyhow, so those are the places. And that's all I have in here so far. It does take up a lot more space. Like, I feel like I got a lot more in this notebook than I did in this one, and that's including having a bunch of scrap paper. Now, maybe is it thicker? It might be thicker. Anyway, it might have more pages. I don't know. Can you tell? I can't tell. But that's where this one's at so far. And so I'm sort of using these in tandem right now, where this one, the extra pages, are really just becoming scrap paper. I did like that map of the US I had, though, so that might transfer over here. But this is something a bit more stylized, a bit more finalized. Yeah, so that's what those are. And in the next video, I'll talk about my little journals that I actually take with me. Yep. But I did want to mention briefly my after the fact journal. You'll remember it was in a spiral notebook in the other one with a cover that had the similar colors, but they were much more geometric. Well, I ran out of room. That wasn't working out for me. So I put it in a yellow binder, and that didn't work out because I had to move. And then I got this one. And you can see it's already bulking up there. I've got about that many things in there. I've still got a little bit more than half of the book to go. And then I had to hole punch it. And that didn't always go so well. You can see, like, on some of these, there's clear tape where it messed up. And it tore just from turning so much. I've completed more of my index. And then just gone through and added a bunch of stuff. I started out doing a lot more pictures, if you'll recall from the first video. But I'm not so good at art, and I got tired of it. It takes a long time. So I started adding, like this I took on a trip, where it's one of these what opens up about 700 different ways. Woo! That turned. And I just, after I went on my trip, so like I sketched stuff to inspire me. Things I wanted to do, places I wanted to see in each place. That's Székesfehérvár, Budapest. But then afterwards I just glued these tickets on, or pinned them on. And I try to get, there's a little pocket here. I try to get a little bit artsy with some of them. Obviously this one's not so much, and you can see I've still got stuff I need to finish in here. This one's not too artsy. But there was one, this one's pretty artsy. This is what I mean. So like I had some pages like this where I drew a picture and I wrote sort of all the things I did from first all the way down to last. But this one's just a bunch of tickets that you can lift up and still see all the other tickets beneath it. Why won't that come here? Oh, see, I've just gone and torn it. It's so easy to do that. So that's how I'm doing this. I finished everything I had. Now, the pages themselves aren't necessarily finished, but all the important stuff. Why did that one just completely tore out? This is my life, you guys. So I'm going to have to get one of those little... I want what do you call them? The circle stickers that go around hole punch things to sort of reinforce it. I don't know what those are called, but I'm going to need those apparently. And I've still got plenty of space. But in the back here, I have got... Oh my gracious. This is terrible, guys. It wasn't doing this to me even yesterday. But I made this little pocket to hold, tickets and things like that. And then ones that were too small or too big or would fall out, I put in this one. So these are all extras. But they go back here so that they're all in one place when I want to go back and redo these, do up a new page. So those are those journals. And again, I'll talk about the other small one that I take with me here in another video.